Chapter 3. Fond memories are bound to abound whenever one contemplates the wise and happy hand of fate. Singularly wise and happy, the Bograts were quick to appreciate the opportunities offered by the new situation. Before long, old influences were reformulated with the input of Kentish characters. In particular, one Mad Mike de Had was omitted to the inner core of Bogdom. Amazingly, a gig, the first to see our heroes actually treading the boards, was arranged for Friday, September the 14th, 1984. The venue was St.Julian's, a pleasant country pile not far from Sevenoaks City, in fact the unhumble abode of Mad Mike and Brother Sim. And so began the second big phase in the life of the Bograts, the live phase. St. Julian's, in its near-idyllic pastoral setting, had become the new focus of inspiration and activities for the band members since late summer 1982, and was to have a highly significant influence on the band. The gig was a fantastic success, drawing a large crowd of enthusiastic new chums from across the locality. Bograts old and new, from near and far, took part in the festivities, the like of which had never previously been seen in those rather staid parts. Especially deserving of mention is the participation of Bograts Richard Brett, aka Natty Obnoxious, Crisp Powell and Ali McVicker, all from Southend, on vocals and guitar, harmonica, vocals and percussion respectively. This was to be the first and last performance of Mr. Brett with the Bograts, and it was particularly remembered for the very fine guitar noises produced. Also present was Ray Walker from Southend, who earned instant honorary boghood for his amazing comparing and spontaneously drumming feats, but has never been seen since, presumed disappeared in a puff of smoke. The Red Book says of the event, "This, the first live gig, firmly established the Bograts as the foremost bog rock outfit in the whole of the lounge at St. Julian's, not to mention in the band's very own heads, where the bog plant had once again firmly taken root." Early in this second phase of the band, one of the true classics of their repertoire was written, the apocalyptic anthem Out of Order, elsewhere described as a pertinent précis of the human condition. It is truly no less, and second to none, except perhaps to that other Bograts favourite, I Wanna Be Dead, written around the same time. Unforgettable renditions of both songs graced the hallowed halls of St. Julian's at the historic first gig, described thus in the 1985 Steaming In tour programme. The Rats were the guest band for the aptly named Strange Night, later to transmogrify into Captain Codpiece and the Cack from Uranus. The lineup for the Rats' debut gig was as follows: Rich SMF Brett on lead vocals and jockstrap, Chris Antisocial Disease Powell on harmonica, the Skid Mike Kid on drums, Captain Liberty Vickers on God Knows What, the Cardboard Box from Safeways on guitar, and Bisto Kid on bass. The audience had never seen anything quite like it, and were at first stunned into silence. But as the onslaught of classic tracks continued, with such gems as Spaced Out Acid Freak and Out of Order, the crowd soon began to freak out at the unique spectacle occurring before their very eyes and ears. This gig was also notable for the choir formed by several fans, which attempted to warble sweetly, that is, howl and scream, on Tree Climbing, a relatively complex middle-period Bograts song cunningly penned by Jim and Sim, here receiving its only live airing. Although the band started off playing their own instruments, quite a lot of changing over happened as the gig progressed. This was generally used to incredible effect, though it did provide Skid Mike with the opportunity for an extended guitar freakout, at which point the ego-ometer went right off the scale. The date of this first gig, Friday the 14th, inspired the band to write a commemorative instrumental classic of the same name. Then, one day short of a year later, on an undoubtedly fateful Friday the 13th, Bernie and the Burning Bograts were to perform anew once again at St. Julian's. The music, it can unequivocally be said, reached new peaks of spontaneous brilliance. Particularly deserving of mention is an awesome spaced-out jazz odyssey version of She Said, complete with wailing feedback guitars and wild bass solos by guest over-the-top monger Cy Young. The tendency to over-rehearse and plan performances, the bane of many a band, was almost completely avoided, though this was the subject of a certain amount of in-band controversy.